Hi, I'm Mark Huberman. I'm president of the National Health Association. And the National Health Association is the oldest organization on the planet advocating the benefits of a 100% whole plant food diet and lifestyle, something we've been doing since our founding in 1948. I'm privileged to be the national president, and I am most proud of being the publisher of Health Science Magazine. What you see before you here, it's a unique publication in that it's 40 pages long, has no advertising in it, just articles on the gold standard of what we call plant-based living and diet, or 100% SOS-free diet, articles on health, interviews with the leading stars and voices of our health movement like Joel Fuhrman, Alan Goldhammer, Michael Clapper, Michael Greger. I've had a very privileged upbringing, not privileged in terms of wealth, but privileged in terms of health. My parents were pioneers in the whole food, plant-based health movement. They came upon this way of living even before I was born, but when I was born in 1951 is where they really started to ripen into it, and were way ahead of their time in believing the importance of organic fruits and vegetables, whole foods, avoiding processed foods, having fresh air, exercise, all those key elements of health. And when I was born in 1951, they thought this was the ideal diet in which to raise a child. And believe it or not, for all of my 70 years, I've never had a piece of pizza, never had a piece of fish, never had a piece of meat. And for 32 and a half years was just raw fruits and vegetables, kind of the ideal natural hygiene diet that we had. Founders of our health organization, Dr. Herbert Shelton, Dr. William Esser, Dr. Gerald Benish, who were people, when founded our organization in 1948, were advocating this kind of diet and lifestyle. And one of our founders, a guy by the name of Dr. Herbert Shelton, wrote this remarkable book called Human Life, Its Philosophy and Laws. He was writing in 1926 about a revolutionary approach to healthcare, that the focus needed to be on prevention, identifying the causes of disease and removing them, not treating symptoms, and recognizing the fact that the keys to health and well-being are found in a plant-based, what they called a vegetarian vegan lifestyle. They didn't use the word vegetarian, they didn't use the word vegan, they used whole foods was what they did. And whole foods meant you didn't have oil, you didn't have salt, you didn't have sugar, anything that weren't whole foods. They were advocating that, and he wrote a whole hygienic system back in, again, in the 1930s, and then kept writing into the 40s and the 50s, and wrote a book. He wrote one of the unique things that Dr. Shelton did. He wrote a book called Fasting Can Save Your Life, that to this day is the greatest selling book ever written on the subject of water fasting, and recognizing the fact that in a medically supervised fasting state, your body has extraordinary powers to heal itself, to recover itself. And when you give it a physiological rest, it's amazing the conditions that can just kind of restore itself. Dr. Shelton wrote this book, I believe, in 1964. And it still is probably the most popular book ever written on the subject of fasting. I grew up on fresh fruits and vegetables. My parents raised me on raw fresh fruits and vegetables, and that's the way I lived for the first 32 and a half years of my life. So I went to grade school, and where everybody else had their little jar of milk and their sandwiches, and they'd go through the line, I would bring my brown bag lunch with an apple, a banana, some cashews, sometimes a peach with the pit taken out, some cashew butter in the middle. And that's what I enjoyed. And I look forward to a salad every day. And that's what I did. And people often ask, how was I able to withstand the temptation of all of the other things around me, pizza and ice cream day and cookie day on Valentine's Day and all the cookies and things like that. And it is, I find just amazing, I guess, when I look back, that what you've never had, taste is kind of a learned behavior. What you've never been exposed to, you don't have an interest in. And so for me, it was really never willpower. These were just things that I wasn't interested in. I knew what I liked. And as I got older, as I got into high school and all that, I then began to, it wasn't just a matter of the way I was brought up, but it was a matter of personal choice. I began to read more and learn more that there really was a scientific validity to the health program that I was raised on. Not just that it was something that I did, but it was something that I chose to do and always tried to get better. And maybe the most rewarding thing about my life and my involvement in the National Health Association has been that this diet and lifestyle that I was raised almost as a religion when I was growing up, as a belief, as a philosophy, has been scientifically validated by people, contemporaries of mine, like Joel Fuhrman and Alan Goldhammer and Frank Sabatino and Michael Greger and Michael Clapper. It is a really, really rewarding thing to see the lifestyle that I was brought up in without choice when I grew up, obviously, in my early years. But to see that validated, what a gift of health that I've been given in my life. And it's now in my adult life, in my retired life, to be able to champion that and advocate that and spread the message of that and the promise of that and the empowerment that this diet and lifestyle gives everyone is a really rewarding place to be at this time in my life. So this is my parents, Max and Ruth Huberman. They were very vibrant champions of this diet and lifestyle. They were very proud of what they did, and I had a little longer hair back and then from the 1960s and that, but I worked in the store and learned about retail. My parents also had, you'll see the name of the store was Natural Health Foods and Barbell Center. My parents also recognized the fact that health was more than just diet. It was more than just what you eat. Exercise was important. And so they were early pioneers of free weights and weight benches and things like that. And they used to have a slogan that said, Natural Health Foods and Barbell Center, where good nutrition and physical fitness go hand in hand. And that's what they did. And they operated that store for 33 years. And whenever anyone come in, they would sell vitamin pills, but the vitamin pills and supplements, vitamin C, vitamin D, the ones that they sold were without additives, without preservatives. They were the purest ones they could find. But if anybody asked them, Max or Ruth, which vitamins do you take? They would honestly tell them, we don't take any, we eat the food. Why would I take vitamin C tablets or capsules when I can drink a glass of orange juice or eat navel oranges every day? Here's a picture of a banquet where you talk about whole foods. This was the banquet. Whole foods meant you get apples, you get oranges, you get pineapples, you get avocados, and you take them to your plate and you cut them yourself, and leaves of lettuce. That's what these were. This is in this picture that you're probably looking at, probably came from Detroit in 1959. This was a banquet of our organization in 1959. Here was our conference. This was in 1961, one of the first. I was 10 years old, and I was, again, kind of a unique individual being raised on raw fruits and vegetables. So they asked me to speak about growing up for my first 10 years at the Pig Congress Hotel in Chicago. So I was before a microphone many moons ago, and maybe it was a precursor of my life in the theater and being a lawyer way back when. So I've always been pretty comfortable on my feet, but I have a long history of being involved and a leader of our health movement. I graduated from law school in 1976. I entered undergraduate school at the University of Pittsburgh when I was 18 years old. And one of the founders of our organization, Jack Duntrop, thought I was an up-and-coming guy and got me on the board of directors of the American Natural Hygiene Society when I was 18 years old, and I've never left. That was 1969, so you do the math. That was a few good years ago, but I've been a very proud leader of this movement ever since. Became the youngest president in 1977, and that's when actually Health Science Magazine was created. I thought as a young president that the organization needed something to give to its members as a value of membership. So health science, we came up with lots of different terms, and health science kind of best expressed what our interest was. We made a science out of health. It wasn't a philosophy. It was all about health, and it was all health based on science. So we liked the term. That's our URL, healthscience.org, and that's kind of how we're known. That's the name of our magazine. And that magazine has been published since 1978, so 43 years. We've been publishing the magazine, and for all those 43 years, there's no advertising in it, just articles on the gold standard of this way of living. And it's got also timeless teaching. Sometimes we'll go back in the magazine and we'll go back to one of our predecessor publications called Natural Hygiene that was published in the late 1950s, early 1960s. And we'll find articles that were written in there that are as timeless today, 60 years ago, they're as timeless today as they were then, articles by Dr. Shelton, Dr. Benish. Again, this was what I like to call our organization the greatest health discovery, that we came up with a different way of looking at health and disease, that health is built, not bought, that we need to live in harmony with nature. Healthcare is self-care. These are all principles that our organization was founded upon and that we continue to champion today. People ask whether you can be healthy as a child and happy as a child growing up on fruits and vegetables, no meat, no ice cream, no dairy, no pizza. Well, here I am to tell you in October 1952, I was about a year and a half old, and I was an optimist from day one. And you can see this is not just a select photo. I was a happy kid. And I've been a happy guy most of my life. I was a piano player with my older brother, Jeff. I loved to do that. And my cakes were a cantaloupe with candles in it. That's what we did. We had a cantaloupe and it had cashew butter and strawberries and raspberries. And I enjoyed them. I enjoyed them very much. And there's a little more closer up of again, this was our joy. And there was my brother and I. They say that you can't carry any weight. You got to be a skinny guy if you're not drinking milk and all that, right? But this guy over here, wouldn't say I was tipping the scales, but I certainly wasn't undernourished. They weren't going to call the health department on my parents for looking like that. But again, I think if there's a common thread that goes through the pictures, we were a happy family, a beautiful family, a gardening family. We had a big garden in our backyard, and my father taught us using a hoe and a rake and transplanting romaine lettuce from day one. So again, I've been an upbeat guy most of my life, and that started way back in 1952. I've had a good life, and I think my diet and lifestyle has given that to me, along with some remarkable parents that were there every step of the way, encouraging me to be the most that I could be. And I've just been a very lucky guy. I've been a lawyer for my entire professional life. And in that case, I've spent not just doing the typical things that lawyers do of representing defendants charged in criminal cases and personal injury cases and probate cases and domestic relations cases, but because of my interest in health, I've also been one who have represented people and represented doctors who are following alternative lifestyle approaches to healthcare. And I've also seen occasionally parents who have been charged and arrested by our local children's services agencies of raising their children on vegan diets and alleging that their children fail to thrive and sometimes get seriously ill. And those are complicated cases. And while I've always been a champion of health freedom, one of the things that I have seen over the years, and I think Dr. Furman and others would tell you the same, is that it's unfortunate that even within the vegan movement, that people think that raising a child vegan simply without meat and dairy, that means that that's healthy. And that's not the case. Vegan, just being unmeat, doesn't make you healthy. Potato chips are vegan. Any number of things that can be without meat doesn't mean healthy. In fact, we've always been champions in our health movement of again, whole foods and without added salt, oil, and sugar, being SOS free. That's really important because, again, and I pick up so many vegan and vegetarian publications, and I look at the recipes and they're laden with oil, they're laden with salt, they're laden with sugar, they're laden with maple syrup, all kinds of things that doesn't make them healthy. And so you see the extremes. You can see people that can fail to thrive on vegan diets that can be emaciated, and then you can see people that are obese on vegan diets. How could that be? It can be because vegan doesn't translate to healthy. What we believe in the National Health Association is that a whole plant food diet without added oil, salt, and sugar helps you avoid the pleasure trap foods. That's the real key to health. But parents that don't do that look at veganism as an end in and of itself, can find themselves in trouble. I'm a vegan. I'm a very proud vegan. I've been a vegan from day one. But I'm a healthy vegan. I like to think I am. And I also share the vegan values of being ethical and being respectful of our planet and worried about our soil and our environment and all that. That's all part of veganism to me. But again, from a health standpoint, I've unfortunately seen cases over the years, more than I'd like to acknowledge, of people who have raised their children vegan and gotten into trouble trying to raise their children vegan because they're not doing it healthy. They're not doing it well. I was raw foods from day one and lived that way for 32 and a half years. As I got a little older, I guess I started to wonder, was I living on a raw food diet because I had to, because if I deviated from it, I'd become deathly sick, or was I doing it because it was the only thing that I knew? And it was interesting to me as I was, again, becoming a leader in this health movement and a contemporary of Joel Fuhrman and Alan Goldhammer and their peers, that no one, very few, were championing a raw food diet. In fact, most of them thought, well, it's certainly great to have as many raw, live foods that you could get, and that's an ideal way to live. It's difficult for some people to sustain their weight, difficult to thrive, difficult to even be satisfied in what you eat of just having raw fruits and vegetables. And some, as we know, to get legumes, beans, and things like that, you don't really eat them raw. You have to cook garbanzo beans, and kale is not the most delightful thing to eat raw. Lightly steaming things, but it wasn't something that I did. So at 32 and a half years old, I was vacationing in Italy. This one particular day, we had a long trip. We started about 6:30 in the morning from Rome, went to Naples, Sorrento, the Isle of Capri, Pompeii, and came back. And during the day, I kind of ran out of food out of my little brown bag, and there was no stands where I could get anything extra. And we wound back at an Italian restaurant about 7 o'clock at night, and I was hungry. But being a raw foodist at this Italian restaurant, there was nothing for me to eat. If I ate a baked potato, I could have had a baked potato. If I ate cooked green beans, I could have had cooked green beans. And even their salad was kind of laced with vinegar and oil and things like that that Italians are apt to do. And that wasn't appealing to me. So I went to bed hungry that night. And I thought when I came home, I said to myself, when I come home, I'm going to try some cooked foods. I'm going to try some of my mother's great wild rice, some of my mother's sweet potatoes, and things like that, and see what would happen. I tried it. I liked it. It was satisfying. And after 32 and a half years, I lost my raw food virginity and became a man and enjoyed cooked meals ever since. And I'm still pretty clean. I still really never changed. I'm still salt, oil, and sugar free. I don't like really very complicated meals. I'm still pretty simple. I like my wild rice and my steamed vegetables and eggplant patties and split pea soup. But probably the biggest change that happened when I was 32 and a half years old is that I gained and I acquired a taste for cooked vegetables, steamed vegetables, soups, stews, things like that. So 32 and a half years was enough. It provided me, I think, a remarkable health foundation that I continue to build upon. I'm a very lucky guy in terms of the health foundation that my parents gave and that I chose to continue and choose to continue to this day, making choices every day in what kind of food I eat, how much sleep I get, how much exercise I get, how much time I get outside. Those are all elements of health that I've learned, and I make those choices every day. And I think that's why at 70 years old, I don't feel much different than I did when I was 50 or maybe even 40. I even had one of those body tests that Dr. Ron Weiss's place, they did this thing where they measure your various ways of measuring your internal and external health. And my internal health said I believe I was 35 years old. That was my internal health. Whether that's true or not, I hope so, but I certainly don't feel like I'm 70 years old. I've gone to a number of my high school reunions. We have a very active class. We just had our 50th reunion, and a lot of the people at my reunions, they look like my parents and grandparents, and they have a lot of health problems, and they suffer diabetes, and a lot of them, sadly, are not even with us anymore. That's not going to be my path if I have anything to say about it, and I think I do. I think the greatest blessing of this diet and lifestyle is that you do, to a great degree, control your health destiny. That's what I think I do every day, and that's the great promise of this diet and lifestyle. In 2011, we wanted a bigger kitchen, especially when my wife joined in this lifestyle and really gained the thrill and satisfaction of plant-based cooking and living. And my pride and joy of this is our Electrolux Icon refrigerator. And this is a plant-based person's dream. You open it up, it looks like one thing, but this is all freezer. This is all refrigerator, and it's actually not so stocked. We need to go to Whole Foods and Costco one of these days, but there is. You know, when I mentioned earlier about the salad, this is the salad that Mark and Wanda and I have every day. This is the main course that we have, and this lasts about a day between the two of us. And I do mung bean sprouts, and we have cucumbers and peppers and avocados and leeks and carrots and cantaloupe, and I mentioned frozen peas from Trader Joe's. They're frozen peas and frozen corn. That's still my favorite. It's a great salad. My wife made me a green smoothie this morning. And this is the frozen side, where we've got they say that you should keep your nuts and chia seeds and all that in the freezer. So we do that. All her frozen berries and all that for smoothies. Again, we need to fill up the place. We need to restock the refrigerator. These are soups we batch cook. So we've got to always have extra vegetable soup, split pea soup, creamy wild rice soup, all kinds of soups. And so, but this is a great refrigerator. It's got that kind of theater lighting. You can see everything. You don't have to search through to find it. To me, this was when we did the kitchen. If we did nothing else, I got this. Here we have there's a pantry guy was really pretty creative in building out the shelf. So we've got yams, the Japanese yams we talked about, which are your favorite or my favorite. We've got red onions and white onions and shallots. We've got down here, we've got all kinds of garbanzo beans and lima beans, and all SOS free. 365 makes all with no salt added. You know, you can go to the store and you can get them, but you got to watch that they're not. We try to get them dried. When you make your garbanzo beans in an Instant Pot, they taste so much better than when you get them out of a box or even an Eden can. Even though they're salt free, it's just not the same. They taste so much better when you do it that way. And we've got our oats and every kind of, this is a neat product that they now started carrying at Costco. So for those people that are concerned about gluten, here's 100% organic, gluten-free, sprouted, rolled oats. It's a great product. Nuts.com, I get when we make cookies and that. They make their golden raisins from Nuts.com, organic Hunza raisins. We have a wine cooler, but it has no wine in it. It's a beverage cooler that's got Dr. Furman's vinegars, and it's got our rolled oats and things like that, and juices and that. And here's those sapotes we talked about, this unusual tropical fruit that we get from California. Our Instant Pots, we actually have a third Instant Pot in the kitchen. This is Vitamix, makes a composter that's an amazing thing that you can take your kitchen scraps, okay, and put them in this little composter. It dries it, it grinds it, cools it, and changes the filter. And look what it turns into, a pan of waste like this that you keep on your counter. You can just throw all your scraps in, and this is what it does to it in a couple hours. And you can just put that on your garden. So this is my Huberman organic garden. It's about 20 by 40, something like that. And as you'll see, they're all raised beds right now, and this is the fall season, so there's only a few cherry tomato plants left. A couple of dill plants out there. There's an errant sunflower in the corner, but it was about a month or two ago, was filled with peas and tomatoes and peppers and cucumbers and lettuce and kale and Swiss chard, and it was quite a bounty. So now I use raised beds because they're easy to take care of. It's all completely organic raised bed soil, and by putting fabric underneath, it keeps the weeds down and makes it really easy to take care of. And I got like river rock all around it, so weeds don't grow up in between. So it's a fairly low maintenance sort of way to raise things, but there's nothing. People ask me often if I'm a really spiritual guy, and I wouldn't say. I say I find my most spirituality when I'm in the garden picking a cherry tomato or picking a fresh strawberry or shelling some fresh green peas. That is something very spiritual or magical for me. And here, I don't know if you can catch it over here, but interesting, I have a couple of extra cherry tomatoes that just kind of grown up, and they've grown into this flowering crab tree, and up in the corner they've just grown up. Here's some that are still growing up in the tree like Johnny Appleseed, but there are a couple of ones that are down here, and there's nothing better than picking a cherry tomato right out of the garden. There's nothing like it. That's magical. And again, I'm in my element when I am in my garden. There's a song from the Fantastics, the musical The Fantastics, that I'm always very proud of. A man who plants a garden is a very happy man, and I'm a very happy man when I'm in my garden. My wife Wanda and I, we have a unique family. I was married before and had a daughter of my first marriage, Lisa, works and lives in New York, and I raised her as a vegan, and she's been vegan from day one. Like me, it's the only thing she knew. She wasn't raised on raw foods. I chose not to raise my child on raw foods because I didn't think it was necessary, and still don't think it's necessary. but it raised her on, she is a vegan and has been a vegan her whole life and has enjoyed the good health benefits that goes with that. My wife Wanda had a child of her prior marriage, a couple of years older than my daughter Lisa, and she was not raised as a vegan. When we got together, she certainly made good health choices for a while, but again, didn't have the same foundation, didn't see the world through the same lenses and the pressures of life and society. When she got into high school, did what lots of kids do. They fall into the pleasure trap, and so she has not enjoyed the good health that my daughter Lisa has. I don't think you can impose your health philosophy on somebody else. Fortunately, and my great fortune is that I planted those seeds with my daughter Lisa, and they have stuck. They've taken root, and they're pretty strong. She knows what to do when she gets sick. She leads a pretty good life. And my wife Wanda, she founded at True North Health in 2011. She had her aha moment, and now we share this lifestyle. But I think she would say, if she credits, one of the things that's allowed it to be easy is that I gave her the opportunity to find her way herself. I didn't insist, I didn't condemn her from eating health food, junk food. She was vegan, but ate the Amy's pot pies and the vegan cheese pizzas and things like that. But that's okay. That's her right. Who am I to say what religion she should follow or what diet she should follow? I loved her because of who she was, not because of what she ate. Again, I've been pretty blessed with good health most of my life. I had my first cavity when I was about 60 years old, 50 years old, I would say. I broke a tooth, my front tooth. I broke my front tooth when I was little, walking my dog. And I had a root canal back when, but I had an implant, a few years ago. But the rest of that, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty strong. I have pretty great endurance. Again, I mean, I don't think that this diet and lifestyle guarantees you perfect health. It does give you the opportunity to make the best with what you got. And I don't know if I'll develop a brain tumor tomorrow, but I doubt it. I think that, again, I'm making choices every day. I've been making choices my whole life, conscious choices about what's good for my health. So I'm reasonably optimistic that I'm not going to be one of these guys that's going to be developing dementia I'm already at 70. So the early onset of dementia hasn't hit me yet, and I'm not expecting it to. And from what I read from the Sher's and what they write, that the best prevention, the best tools to prevent the onset of that is adopting a whole plant food diet, staying engaged with life. I play chess, I play racquetball, I play ping pong. I try to challenge my mind. I try to read. Try to be engaged in life. So I'm pretty good. My health is pretty good. I have been blessed with, I think, a good health foundation. Even people that have been living, that haven't been blessed with 70 years of life like I have, that have only been doing this for 10 years or 20 years, there is still this remarkable ability within the body to turn on and turn off the expression of these genes through epigenetics, and that you're not a prisoner of type 2 diabetes, or you're not doomed to have breast cancer because your mother had it. You're not doomed to have a heart attack and need stents and statins because heart problems have been in your family. You really do have the right to control. You have the ability. Your body gives you, and the lifestyle choices you make give the ability, the capacity to control your health destiny. That's what I think I do every day. Yeah, so in terms of raising your children, the same lifestyle for parents is the same lifestyle for children. That's the wonderful thing about it. Dr. Furman wrote a book called How to Raise Healthy Children. I think the beauty is everybody went, well, what's the thing for raising children versus raising seniors versus raising adults? It's all the same diet and lifestyle. It's a diet for all seasons, for all reasons. Obviously, there's more psychology involved with raising children. You can at least control what's in your house, what's in your pantry. You can do that. But if you try to be the police of your children, you might end up with neurotic children. And there's more to life than fruits and vegetables. You want well-rounded children. You want children to be able to think for themselves. You want children to be self-confident. So you want them to be involved in life more than just policing every meal. But you can set an example at home. I think that's the most important thing you can do. But again, the diet is not so secret. The wonderful thing that's so much easier today of raising children than when I was raised is the recipes are so much better. I never had a cake until my 60th or 65th birthday. I had a Kathy Fisher carrot cake with a pineapple cashew icing on it. First cake I ever had in my life. Now kids can grow up with not dogs, with all kinds of French fries, all healthy stuff, SOS free. It's so much easier now to raise children with healthy foods that they'll like and won't feel like oddballs. My favorite quote is of my father's that I mentioned earlier is, be ashamed to die until you've won some victories for humanity. We all have a lot to do to make the world a better place. We have a lot of challenges in this world, but be part of the solution, not part of the problem. Be involved, make a difference. That's what I think I get to do. It's a wonderful privilege being president of the NHA and bringing this health message, not just what it's done for me and for my family, but for generations, and what it can do for generations to come. So be ashamed to die until you've won some victories for humanity. Be ashamed, the emphasis on ashamed. Be ashamed to die until you've won some victories for humanity. Become involved, make a difference, make the world a better place. That's my motto that my father raised me with, and it's what I continue to abide by.